Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Lena. Welcome back to another video. So today we're finally going to talk about all the SPSFC books that I've read in January, which were 10 precisely. It was a bit of a rush, not gonna lie. Like, I thought I had it all under control, but I had to actually read them in the last 2 weeks of the month. So it was a bit much for my brain, but still, I found some books that I actually really like, some that didn't really click with me, but we're going to do like a very roundup of everything. So I'm basically going to use the order of our spreadsheet so I don't miss anything, and I will tell you the score that I gave it and the three they're actually semi-finalists now. So let's just start with Nigh by Alan Miller. I'll tell you right out of the bat, like, I love this one. This was my second favorite of the batch. I loved Nigh. It's a very cool concept because it's basically about the fact that people start like reverse aging, meaning they're basically getting younger and younger. So all the old people are now just getting like a second life. There's not like a great meaning or great plot about this book. It's just like the experience of people getting younger and how it changes everything, because not only are people getting younger, but also disease is no longer a thing. Like, you can still die from like you had trauma or something like that, but you will not die from disease. It's just completely eradicated. So there are parts of it where you just explore. People are taking so many fucking drugs because they're not going to do anything to their system long term. So it's just like probably what will happen actually. But it's still super bizarre. I loved it. You basically follow a bunch of characters. You follow a couple of old people. He basically came back from the dead, because that's also a thing. Like, when you are just like freshly dead, you also come back. It's just so bizarre. You have the story of another marriage, and he was really sick. Now he gets better. They started getting younger and younger. It's just super cool. You also follow like the oldest man in humanity. Like, it's so cool, dude. Like, I understand that this is probably not a book for everyone, but I was just along for the ride, you know. I enjoyed every single moment of it. I'm so happy that like my hunch was correct, because I had only read like 10% before. So now I can completely say that I gave this one a 9 out of 10. I was so invested. I really like Nigh overall. Like, it was so original, and it took like a great like turn into a, you know, like a more known trope, like, you know, reverse aging. Love Nigh. Extremely recommend this one. Like, I actually believe that it doesn't even have like ratings. This book is so good. Then another pseudo favorite. This is Life on Planet Earth by Andy Gorman. So hear me out. This one is YA. It's YA, which honestly nowadays, every time that I know something is YA, I'm a little bit just like careful, because I just don't enjoy it as much. Even though I love some YA books, you know, like Crown of Feathers. That's so fantastic. But I was pleasantly surprised by this one. Basically, it's a post-apocalyptic adventure story. You start following these two siblings, and they live on a spaceship that has basically been orbiting Earth. Earth was completely destroyed because of this plague. You know, you have like this kind of mutants. I call them zombies, but they're mutants, you know. So they're basically assembling a mission to go back to Earth and start inhabiting again. For being YA, this touched so many like dark topics. At 15%, I think it was, there's actually like a sexual assault. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? It's not gratuitous, but it's dealt with pretty well, actually, which was pretty surprising and pretty refreshing. Sometimes it's really badly dealt with, but in this case, I think it was great. The main character is thinking about it pretty constantly. It's not like something that happens and it's just completely forgot about 20 pages later. Yeah, pretty dark, but there's one thing that I really didn't like. There's a love story there, which it's a YA book. Of course, there's a fucking love story. Like, can we please move on from that? Like, you don't need a love story in every single book. Like, I know the appeal, I understand the appeal of it, but you don't need a love story in every single one of your books. Please. And there's one here that felt so insta-love. Like, it was fucking immediate. Which in a way, I might understand because, you know, it's something new. But still, I didn't like it. So I took some points away from it because of that. But still, I give it 8.5. It's still a great book. I highly recommend it because it's super fast paced. You can enjoy it so much. Also, the villain is pretty interesting. Like, not interesting because he's a piece of shit, but he is actually a pretty good villain. Like, you will enjoy hating him. Then we have Broken Ascension by Dave Walsh, which I actually really enjoyed too. This is the one that was more like classic space opera type of science fiction, which I usually really enjoyed. So, you know, I was in for a treat. I was pretty sure I was going to like it, but I was still pleasantly surprised by it. It's probably one of the best first chapters of all the bunch. Like, you get a pretty good idea about the book just right at the start, so you're just flowing with it. Great overall. It's basically about floating a ship of scavengers, and they come across this derelict ship from another race, and once there they find something. I'm not going to tell you what they're going to find, but it's cool. I'm not going to say what it reminded me of because that was spoiled it, but still, I really like it overall. It also took a great turn. Instead of focusing on war between these two races, it focused more on art, because this race has a huge respect for painters and such, for everyone that basically crafts art, which was super cool. It reminded me a bit of Phoenix Extravagant by Yoon-Ha Lee, like that main focus being the craftsmanship, and not like the usual action. Was great. Still a lot of action, honestly. But yeah, overall, I really like Broken Ascension. I give it 8.5. Also, super entertaining. I really liked it. You also feel like a pretty young protagonist, but it's not a teenager. He's just like young. And I really like how the problems with his dad were portrayed. Really liked it in general. Then we have Synthesis Wave by Deane Saunders-Stowe. Hear me out. I started up this book thinking that I was going to really like it, but the thing is, towards the middle, it had an element that I'm not a huge fan of. So basically in this one, you're going to follow two main characters. One of them is an engineer, and the other one, I don't really remember what his job was, but they are basically recruited by this special force, and they are sent to investigate some things. The plot feels very vague at the beginning in general, but you're just moving around between different places. This is also like a very classic space opera type of, you know, you have your different races, you have your different planets, you're on a ship, you're visiting several of them. Also, another great point, representation. One of the characters is actually disabled, and he's in a wheelchair, even though he has like metallic legs. That part was great, something that you don't usually see on sci-fi, because science fiction wars, disabled people don't exist, you know, usually never, but I really liked it. That was a great point in favor of this book. But the thing is, towards the middle, something called magic came in, and I don't mind science fantasy. I fucking love Star Wars, but science fantasy can be so hit and miss for me. And this time, it was a miss for me. Like, it took me out of the science fiction elements, even though we have like AI at one point. I don't know, but we delved too much in that, and it lost me. I gave Synthesis Wave an 8 out of 10 basically, so still very enjoyable. I feel like almost every single one of these books you can read no problem. They are super enjoyable and fast-paced. But yeah, sadly, this one didn't work as well for me, sadly. Then we have the Peacemakers Code by Deepak Malhotra. I thought this was going to be my favorite book, honestly, because I love first contact and dealing with aliens in general. So I was just like, okay, this might be the book for me. But again, for some reason, we needed another love story. And this one was probably the one that I was most annoyed by, because it's probably one of the most insta-love stories that I've seen in my fucking life. It almost started like a nightstand and they were almost totally in love, which again, sometimes I can understand that because, you know, dire situations can make you do some stuff. I get it. But still, I didn't like it. So we basically started this book with our main character, who is a professor at university, being brought into the White House to help assist this group of very important people, you know, on their first contact with aliens. There's this ship approaching and they basically end up landing on Earth. The alien stuff was pretty good. Let me tell you, that was pretty fucking good. But that love story took me out of the story completely. Turns out that it was actually like not a main plot at the end, but still almost that. So I hate when the answer to everything is just like love. Love can solve anything. I fucking hate it. And this felt a little bit like that. So pisses me off a little bit, because if it wasn't for that, I'll be pretty happy with it. Also, I felt like the ending was a little bit underwhelming. Like, I get why it's different, and in a way I like that, but it still felt like a little bit underwhelming, you know? And I gave the Peacemakers Code a 8 out of 10, but mostly because of those aspects. Like, the rest I really liked. Then we have The Vacuum Space by Julia Huni, which was a book that I was very excited about at first. As I told you in my TBR, I was just super excited about it. I was just like, oh, this seems great, because it's a murder mystery on a space station. Basically, we also have like this faction that is actually hiding like the bodies and making everyone forget. Set it up greatly. I love it. The first chapter was one that just like hooked me, and I was super happy about it. But the thing is, it turned into a love story too. Like, I know that I sound like I'm just repeating the same thing all over again, but this turns into like more of a cozy mystery than a murder mystery for me. You know, sometimes when I think about murder mysteries, I just don't want everything to be just like super happy all the time. This girl is from the lower part of the station, and while meeting this detective, she is just pulled a little bit higher, and they have to fake date. Yeah, and he gives her like a fruit from the upper levels, and she's just like mesmerized with the food, which didn't make sense knowing the plot twist at the end, but still, she's mesmerized by the food, and the food is brought up like so many times, like, this food is so good, this food is so good, all the time. I was just like hungry all the time reading this. But for me, there was too much focus on the relationship between these two than the actual murder mystery. There's even like esports competition, which I don't mind, but it dragged for a bit too much for me. Still, nothing wrong about this one. It's just that it didn't work for me and for my tastes, because I'm mostly like, I do like cozy mysteries, but I mostly have to be in the mood for them, you know? So for this one, I ended up giving it a 6 out of 10. It's still a good book. It's well written. Nothing wrong with it, but just, it's not for me. I'm going to surprise you right now, because another book that I read was The Stuff Within by Laura Knight. I think she's not Laura, but Lena Knight. Actually, I think the name in this spreadsheet is wrong. Hear me out. This is basically a love story with a lot of plot. But basically, you start the book and you're going to follow our main character. She is actually part of a task force, and it's made out of telekinesis practitioners. She basically can snap people with her mind. She's a very powerful one. She is good with telekinesis and telepathy. This gigantic like kind of business owns them actually, and they drop them in places where there's war to just tell the balance between one of the sides. Super cool. We soon found out that she has been having this relationship with this guy for over years, and you can tell that they have like a lot of trust between one another, and they have done this behind this corporate back, like it's not allowed. You can have relationships, but you cannot have like lasting relationships because you're supposed to just be loyal to them. And one day out of the blue, they take him from her, and she's just like, okay, I need to escape, and I have to find him. Hear me out. The love story here was so believable, and I was actually super invested. Like, go girl, go find him. Really liked it. But the problem is, I actually disliked the part where we didn't have like the love story. Curiously enough, I didn't dislike it. I wasn't just like as invested on that part because towards the end we are on a ship with a new captain, and the guy is fine, but it's not that interesting. Like, I wish like we move towards our main like plot, but still, I really liked it. I give it a 7 out of 10 because that part really dragged for me, but the beginning of the love story was fantastic. So I highly recommend this one. I think the cover does not reflect the book at all. It's much darker than it looks like. So I highly recommend this one. Let's just talk about my favorite one right now. This is the Orthogonal Galaxy by Michael L. Lewis. So, when I first talk about this book, I confuse it with Synthesis Wave because I thought this one was the space opera. But no, this is a hard sci-fi actually set on Earth, super heavy on the science, and I'm so happy that I found it thanks to this, because holy shit did I like this book. My favorite. You're going to follow a bunch of people in this one. Mainly at the beginning, you're going to follow 2 astronauts that are on Camp Mars, and then 3 students and 1 professor. They are on Earth. Something happens, it destroys Camp Mars. These 2 astronauts are just left there because no one knows what the hell happened. And these other 4 characters are investigating what happened. I loved it. You also have like another perspective that you don't really know why is there until like the later half of the book made a lot of sense. But dude, I love this because this professor is a astrology professor, and he has like so many fucking things around. The science is super heavy, feels super professional. Did I understand everything? No. I still really liked it. Like, it's still overall, it was so good, dude. I liked it a lot. I'm actually super excited to get to book 2, which I hope that I get to it soon. But dude, amazing. Initially gave it 9.5 out of 10. I had to lower it to a 9, but still, my favorite one. I love this one. If you like hard sci-fi, try this one because you're going to like it. It's more on the slower side because there's a lot going on. There's a huge span of years also taking place. I love it. I loved it. Then second to last, we have Convergence by Michael Patrick Hicks. However, I read a book by this author before, didn't realize till I was reading Convergence. Wasn't a huge fan of the other one, but this one, I have to say that is very dark. So you're basically going to follow, is he a mercenary? An agent? He has to find someone, and the cool thing about the story, besides the plot, which is very average, the best thing about this book is the getting high on memories thing. So this dude basically just steals like the memories from people that he'd killed, and he then rewatches them and feels them die. The concept is great. So yeah, the concept in general is great because it's more of a mystery type of, a little bit more cyberpunk type of book. I'm not going to go into much detail about it. It was one of the ones that I rated up top, but it wasn't one of my favorites. Still, super original. I really like that part in general. I basically ended up giving this one 8 out of 10. Yes, 8 out of 10. I really liked it. The last book that I read was Folder by Raymond Bolton. I'm not going to talk about this book because I basically didn't like it. I did finish it because I just didn't want to DNF, even though it's completely allowed if you just don't like a book. I didn't like it. I didn't like it from the first pages. I did like made it work and finish it, but definitely not for me. some things were here that I don't think a modern book should have. You know, as I tell you, I still read it because I was just like, this will be redeemed later. But the main character was so fucking annoying, like so fucking annoying. I just couldn't with him. I will not tell you the rating or anything, I just didn't like it. So those were basically all the books that I read. So let me just tell you which ones actually made the cut, because we basically voted as a team. So even though I rated really high, Nigh and the Orthogonal Galaxy, they didn't make the cut. I'm so sad about it. They were so close, but they didn't make it. The ones that did were actually Broken Ascension, Life on Planet Earth, and Convergence, which I think that might be hit or miss for a lot of the other judges. So we'll see. We were pretty much in agreement that we really enjoyed it, but I think that we are people with a pretty similar taste. Even though we don't have like the same taste, we have like a pretty good like core taste. So I think that's probably why this came out, but we'll see. The other judges already have their finalists, so I will link the page for the SPSFC down below, so you can check every single semi-finalist that we have. There are a couple there that I'm so excited to read. Archvet, for example, like I'm so excited to read that book because I already had it look up on my TBR before for all the SPSFC. I'm really excited. But yeah, that's going to be all for today. Are you planning on reading any of these books? Do they sound good to you? Let me know down in the comments below. But as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.